Hello. I'm so happy that you're with me in my studio today. And I can hardly believe that a whole year has passed since I shared my year's work with you. And I thought I would do it again this year because there are many things that I have learned and many pieces of art that I'm quite tickled with, some not so much. But for this first visit, I'm going to be talking primarily about these flower studies on loose sheets of paper. The first one, done in September, has a watercolor background in a very abstract manner. I just put the colors down in any way that made me feel happy at the moment. I then used my go-to Signo Uniball pen to pick out some flowers. Here on this side, I added some using this bit of the watercolor as the focal for that flower. Then I went to a separate sheet of watercolor paper and drew and painted these three, fussy cut them out, and applied them in a three-dimensional way, something new, something I hadn't tried before, and I'm thinking that I will probably get back to doing more of this next year, because I do so enjoy picking out areas on a piece and bringing out whatever my muse tells me that she finds there. So that was the first share of the year, and I'm going to go back to the last one that I did just finished actually in November. This is a watercolor with a sketch of a flower and some buds, leaves, but I think the thing that was my most crucial to learning on this piece was the use of the pen to help shade and pick out the different petals and their shapes. I let the watercolor be my guide again, and I was able to find areas of darkness. Now I'm going to need to work more on this because this is probably my only first or second experience. I'm not too happy yet with this, but as time goes on, I'm sure I will be. Here are my buds, and they were very catch-can, but they seem to definitely speak bud to me. Of course, I added some penned leaves to complement the two that were here. So here is another watercolor example, again using pen. I found this in my stash. It does not have a date. I'm hoping it's from 2017. It might not be. But for some reason, this makes me quite tickled, including the fact, which I don't often do as a background, some journaling. Watercolor on watercolor paper. This piece is from October, in which I was trying to bring out some fall colors. All of this background is another abstract, but in this case, I had a vague idea of where I wanted colors to fall in this entire abstract. In other words, these would be the background shades, and then on top of that, after that dried, I added a yellow area, an orange area, and a reddish area. And, as luck would have it, this worked out quite nicely for achieving the flowers and leaves on this one. This one makes me particularly happy. I tried a new style on my leaves here, and there again, I'm realizing that I must use my very finest Ultra Micro pen, which I did not here, in order to achieve a better effect in these areas. But that's what art is all about, learning by doing. Very soft background that I'm quite tickled with. This piece was in my stash. This is an old watercolor piece that I think I might have copied the general overall flower and leaf areas from maybe a book. I'm not sure, I don't remember. But I found this one and I decided to play by adding just a minimum amount of line work. And here I have used a very fine Uniball Signo. I believe I think the micro on this one. And I'm really more and more liking the effect of the lighter and finer pen work. This was a sketch in which the challenge was to put down your pen and not pick it up. I believe it's supposed to be this way, yes. Put down your pen and not pick it up, and then embellish. As you can see, it was a challenge. It was something that I have to say I probably was not totally bought into. I did not seem to have taken it all that seriously, but I did learn an awful lot about watercolor on this one. I'm quite happy with that shape and this one. But there again, learning by doing. I thought I'd share some of these with you, and I'm thinking it might be fun over the holidays for me to try to embellish this, or, as I often think to myself, tart it up a little bit with more pen work and even maybe embellish it with some gold. Who knows, it might bring this puppy to life. This piece was an experiment with oil pastels and rubbing the colors in together. I just plopped, I believe I plopped this one down first, and then I went and did this one and this one off the page and just had fun with those oil pastels and rubbing the color in. And there again, a practice. Yes, I can feel it, and I can see it on my finger. Yes, a practice day and a fun experience. This was a challenge for me because it required that I used a printed piece from my tablet, but do the sketch in such a way that I was very loose. In other words, I stood far away from it and I just put down those shapes and went with what was left. Here, another learning that I must get back to. I want to in the new year. I think you'll be seeing more of this kind of work because it is great fun. It is a challenge, and it is certainly not an easy thing to do for someone like me who likes OCD kind of work. But oh, what a happy feeling I got when anything at all worked out with this one. Happy with that puppy. Here I was starting more and more to learn to work with a combination on this one of watercolor and gouache. The colors with more depth, more opacity, are the gouache laid on top of the watercolor. Very, very informative as to how to make the most of the different color areas and shadings within these flowers. And as you can see, a little bit of stencil gold on the background. The paper, I don't remember. I don't believe that this is even on watercolor paper. So, though that I'm happy with the general effect, I'm wondering why I thought that this one does not need a stem. Well, my muse was off that day. More practice using the oil pastels again on top of watercolor and gouache backgrounds. And my, doesn't that oil pastel on top, when rubbed in and blended together, add a vibrant color to the background, because the entire back really was very similar in shade to this until I added that oil pastel. More of that coming, because it is great fun to do. This piece is an acrylic background, stencils laid on top, and a girl added to the empty focal area. I'm quite happy with her. I'm happy with the way the colors worked out for her. And she is telling me that I really need to get back to my girls, because I had really set them aside for a while, and I must not do that, because I find them very, very enjoyable. There's many things I'm sure that could be changed or different about her, but she's my girl and I love her. This was great fun to do. Way back in February this year. On this one, I tried doing quadrants to see what would happen. Learning, and experiment. And I do believe I did this one using my tool for masking these lines. And I was just starting to introduce myself to use of pen work. And at the very beginning, I see, back in February, that I was using that nice, fine micro pen. And the more I look at this, the happier I am with that effect, rather than the 207 or the larger one. Very, very happy with this effect here. And here, as I said, this was really, really early in my learning of adding pen work to backgrounds. And I'm feeling that there is also a little bit of oil pastel on this. I can feel it when I touch it. An experiment. And at the beginning of the year, last January, in the middle of the month, a abstract background again. This time, of course, using watercolor and more learning. And you can see now the evolution, I think, in which I use the gradations of color in the watercolor to help me produce and pull out something from the background, something that I really love to do, but as you can see, I'm really Just feeling my way here and learning. But that's where it all starts. Practice, practice. So, those are my flowers. And I thought I would also share this journal that I have made. This journal is an ordinary black and white school notebook that I made in June of 2016 and hadn't used. And I decided to try using it as the journal for what I call my alone time. This journal comes out whenever I literally am physically alone. It could be in my studio, it could be on my bed, it could be in the family room, it could be in a car or on vacation, anywhere. That I just decided not to really make videos or share the things that are in here, but they're just kind of things to enjoy, to relax, to calm, to think things through, generally to just crawl into this journal and have fun. Success consists of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. Winston Churchill. And it is the without loss of enthusiasm bit that makes this wonderful. When I made this book, I realized that the pages in this notebook were sewn in, so I cut the center sewing very carefully and removed the entire inside, and then I glued some pages together to make them a little thicker, and I went through my stash of different paper and added them back into the journal. These are some bits from coloring books with a little pencil practice. I have a lot to learn about blending with pencil. This, I believe, is the first piece in here, done in August this year. There again, watercolor, pen, and fun, relaxing time. Here are some some sketching studies that I wanted to try my hand at, and I'm going to do more and more because I do need to. But I embellished the pencil sketches with just a tiny bit of ultra micro Uniball, and just am going to do more because this is just so much fun. This is a newish one. I put a wash of gouache down in a pink and yellow combination and had no plan on what was going to be there on top of the big area that I colored in. And I came back and did this piece. And here again, as you can see, when I employ that this is the heavier pen work in here, and then this finer work does seem to be the road that I have to work more on, because although I'm quite happy with the center of this flower, I'm happier, much happier with the effect of the very fine micro and ultra micro pen tips. Another one done in November. 2 colors applied with gouache, some pen work, a drawing, then some pen work, and embellishing with some Prismacolors. This is what I've done with my gouache on the pages, just to put some color in the background as a challenge. Some more spots of color. This, I believe, were the mermaid markers. Just putting down 3 big splotches of red. And then in this signature, on the front and back of this one, I did some more practicing with, on this one particularly, I did some more practicing with Prismacolors. And oh my, anyone that says pencils are just pencils, no, they're not. They're quite the challenge to do such a beautiful job as people like Dee Dee Willingham can do. It's incredible what she does with a Prismacolor pencil. Here, more for future play. 2 shades of gray in gouache, just 4 circles and play. So relaxing to me. Gouache stems and leaves, gouache lines, and these flowers in pen. This one's going to be great fun. As you can see, this is just something that I pull out and drag with me like a child drags a banky. Just some splashes of color in shades of pink in gouache. But oh my, what a field, a fodder for thought. Same thing here. Well, you do get the idea for this work, and it just is my go-to at home by myself with a cup of tea and playtime. I do hope that you have enjoyed sharing these art moments with me. I'm going to be sharing other things that I have done over the year during this month of December as I think ahead and plan ahead for my work and my shares on YouTube for next year. And if you have enjoyed, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share with a friend, and I would certainly appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. I'll be seeing you soon with my next round of Year's Joy. Bye now.